Hello and welcome to Stampscaping 101. We're going to take this half-page piece of vinyl, holographic printable sticker paper from, kind of a loud surface to kind of more of a mellow one, harmonizing with the media that we apply to it. Right here, we're using a white Brilliance pigment ink, which is a water-based pigment ink. It's fast drying and it adheres to this printable type of surface very, very well. And it also dries very quickly. I'm applying this white blocking out layer of this white ink in the areas where I'm going to be applying my imagery. You want to go for a relatively opaque application, meaning you have to apply a decent amount of layers of this. It goes pretty fast, but you just don't want to have those stars showing through things like a cabin or something like that, so we block it out. Going on the top of this printable vinyl, but what I'm really doing is I'm stamping on top of the Brilliance ink that is now dried and adhered to the surface. It doesn't take any time at all, a few seconds for it to dry. Planning our trunks around our foundation images, which is the covered bridge, adding the trees to flank each side. You might call these foreground images here, but I will be adding some other imagery in later on that will then act as kind of an even closer foreground type of a textural pattern. Adding the fences, both the left and right side, to create a strong visual lead-in into the composition. Adding some background filler trees in the form of the maple tops. And again, I'm kind of printing them over areas in which I blocked out with the white pigment ink. Okay, going in with the sedge filler here to add in that additional texture around my trees and in the background. You don't need to mask anything off because the image is light enough. Adding some of the rock textures in as well as these little bushes here, just to kind of make the, the textural kind of richness of the scene more complex. Okay, one of the nice applications of Brilliance ink on top of this printable vinyl sticker paper is that the Brilliance dries so well and it adheres so well on this type of surface that you can apply colored pencils right to the Brilliance ink. It won't apply on top of the bare vinyl sticker paper because it just doesn't have enough kind of surface texture, but the Brilliance ink does, and it adheres to it really well. It doesn't scratch off with my pencils. You have to use, reasonably soft colored pencils, but it pretty much takes it, without any problem. Building up my colored pencil color scheme from kind of light and dull to a little bit brighter and or darker as I work through my color schemes. You might call the kind of the orangish yellow tones a little bit of a kind of a base layer. Going in with my trees now, adding in some base layer tones of brown, and also bringing some of that brown tone into my grassy area below and to the sides of the trees. Also addressing my bridge now with the same brown. Using similar color schemes around different objects and areas gives your scene a little bit more of a kind of a visual harmony and continuity, even though you might not have the end results too similar in terms of hue. You can have your base layers as common colors, and that gives it that continuity. Adding in some more shadows here. The darker you go, you start addressing your shadow structures. And in my background trees, I really did bring in a lot of green into them, but I did want to have them look somewhat fall in tone and color scheme, so adding in some oranges and reds right over the top of some of those greens. Okay, now going in with the acrylic paint pens. This one happens to be a 3mm paint pen, so pretty thick, but you can make just a delicate dab with it and you can get a much smaller dot. But I do have the extra fine tips too, but the larger tips give a little bit more coverage and makes the process a little bit faster. With the paint pens, I work from dark to light, so here I am adding in some fine tone details with the white here. Kind of brings the areas to life by introducing a stronger element of contrast with white here. And following up with the extra fine tip to get in some of the much more detailed areas, like, I don't know, coloring the tops of some little rocks and such. But these little dots really bring the surface to life with that extra texturing and contrast again. Adding some little trunks and branches into my trees. A little bit of highlighting on the fence posts. And here we're going in with some final touches as far as the imagery goes and adding in some reeds large to expand on the, kind of the scenic depth of the piece, and going in with the leaves to kind of flank the left and right corners and kind of bringing a little bit more attention to the interior of the scene by those images acting as kind of like a vignette of sorts and framing the scene off. White pigment ink expands on the textural range and lighting of a scene. It adds these, kind of softer elements and areas in the piece, so you have both crisp and very soft elements within your scene. People love kind of a really soft light, so this is a great finishing touch for that. And there you have it. Look at that vinyl kind of starry sticker paper up in the top portion of it. Just a little peekaboo view of it, but very effective in terms of, I don't know, kind of creating a nice rich surface. Hope you enjoyed the scene. Thanks so much for watching.